Well, good morning, everybody. This is DearMamaSal talking about love, life, and other problems. And this drive along today is going to be discussing jealousy and envy. We had this come up on the broadcast at the weekend. And by the way, I'd like to just acknowledge those of you who popped in on the broadcast this weekend for the first time. Welcome. There's no need for you to talk if you don't want to. If you just want to listen to the topics, that is absolutely awesome. The whole point of the broadcast is places where we can openly discuss some issues that everybody deals with. And as I said, today, this weekend's topic was jealousy, and that also brought up the word envy. Now, as we talked about both, I thought I would give you all a definition because by the time I'd finished, I couldn't remember what the difference was. Do you know what you mean? You go, we all knew what we were talking about, but I'm not quite sure whether it was jealousy or envy. So here, I found a great definition. I thought it was wonderful. And it said, envy is when you want something somebody else has got. You know, maybe it's their car, or their wife, or their husband, or their dog. You know, whatever it is, it's where you want something somebody else has got. Now, apparently, that's envy, and jealousy is where a third person is involved. For example, if you really like your neighbor's car, that's envy. But if your neighbor takes your wife for a drive in it, you could be jealous. I thought that was great. Because now it's a third person. I also heard another definition where it's where you act upon stuff, where this, where it gets nasty. Jealousy is where it affects you emotionally to the extent that you act out on it. For example, a troll. Woo! Really, Mr. Bus Driver? Or Miss Bus Driver? Wow! You don't have that happen. This bus just swung out without any warning. I mean, it swung before the indicator went. Okay, I'm going to take a deep breath now. Wow. With a whole lot of passengers in it. Okay, I can get over that. You see, here's the thing about getting upset about the driver of another vehicle. I can scream and shout, but really, does it affect the driver of the other vehicle? Not at all. I'd like to believe that they realized what they did was incredibly dangerous, not only to the passengers in their bus, but also to me. Let's hope that that is true. Yeah, I know I could report them, but where's the fun in that? Wow. You all got this one? Jealousy is where a third person is involved. So, we all talked about it this weekend, and I'm pleased to say that most of us could admit to some level of jealousy. Which I thought was very amusing, and we had lots of fun stories about where we'd been jealous of things or people, or envious of things and people, and then some level of jealousy. What I wanted to say was that you've got to really be in touch with yourself to be able to admit that you've had jealousy. You've got to be able to admit you're not a perfect person, which I recommend, by the way. Because I think most people have had their fair share. And that's quite normal. And I think what we do in life is we try to pretend that we're much better people than we are. How many of you are going, yep, I know that one. All right, so we don't want to admit that we've been jealous, or that we've gone over the speed limit, or all these other things that we do that make us bad people. We don't want to admit to those because people might not like us anymore. Well, it's my belief that if you understand that you're not the only one and that life isn't perfect, then sort of you're much more forgiving of yourself and other people. And really, compassion is where all this is about. So let's talk about the person in front of me who is crawling up the hill. Really? Ah, thank you. Gosh, they happen to be going left. Yay! So to me, jealousy and envy are sort of linked hand in hand. One is, in some ways, the extension of the other. Oh, golly! Oh my gosh! That's rather interesting. My my coffee fell over and ran into my four-wheel drive box. I don't I don't know if you've where I've got a four-wheel drive thing, and my coffee fell over and went into that mechanism. I have to do a little bit of Googling today, or phone up somebody who knows these things. If my car suddenly stops. Or it suddenly speeds up because it's on caffeine now. My gear ratios will be totally different. I have no idea what's under that housing. I know that there's the lever or lever, depending what country you're in, that drops it from four-wheel drive into regular and into low. I certainly can't be good for it though. I'm sure somebody will tell me. Okay, take a deep breath. I'm going to pretend that there's a big hole at the bottom and it all ran down onto the road. That the stem of the lever just goes down into another housing that was well protected. And most of the coffee went down into the road. Why am I so amused? I have no idea. Okay. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about in terms of this was whether you are comparing, when you're talking envy, and maybe even jealousy, whether you're comparing yourself to others, and then whether you're doing a fair comparison. That was the discussion that I wanted to have this morning. For example, one of the things that I said in my discussion was, gosh, I came across a YouTuber of roughly my age who'd only been on the air for a couple of years, and in some ways was doing better than I am. if you base it on views, actually subscribers to views. So anyway, what I said to the team was, this is only fair to me to have that comparison if we're both doing the same subject. In other words, her subject is very different from mine and much more appealing to, a very different audience. And that's not what I do, as you know. So it would be very unfair of me to judge myself against her, even though we're of similar ages and we're both on YouTube. It's not a fair comparison. So I encourage you, when you start to feel that little green monster come up and get in your way, I encourage you to make sure that your comparison is fair. You can look at somebody else's car and be envious of it, but do you know how they paid for it? Maybe daddy helped them, or maybe something else went on that made it possible. Maybe they had an inheritance and that's how they got the car. I'm sure you wouldn't want anybody to die for that. So you look at it and you go, oh, maybe they work in an absolutely rotten job that they hate, but it pays well. And is that the price you want to pay for a new car? Do you understand? So you've got to look at it all and just say, wow. And the gorgeous looking wife or husband, maybe they're not as gorgeous as you think, because beauty is way deeper than skin, right? And so the outside beauty might be the inside hell on wheels, for all we know. And we had quite a discussion about the grass not being greener on the other side of the fence 90% of the time. And this brings us back to having gratitude. I'm really grateful for what I have. I'm really grateful for the ability to be able to do what I do and to make a difference in people's lives. The DearMamaSal group actually does make a difference in people's lives. I'm very grateful for that. I'm also very grateful that the car hasn't had a little hiccup right now from his caffeine rush. So I hope that's given you a slightly better understanding about the difference between envy, which involves one other person or thing, and jealousy, which involves a third party, and nearly always also involves acting out on some fear or some grudge. I hate to say it, but I've done both. That's where my mind went. I just went, yeah, right, I think I have done both. Must admit, most of the nasty stuff was in defense of somebody doing a nasty to me. But I did it. Doesn't justify it though, does it? No, anyway, I'm glad that's a long time ago. I tried to walk away today. Wherever I can. So if any of you have any questions or have any examples that you want to share on the comments, go right ahead. If this was a topic that was valuable to you, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Do all the usual things. If you like a little bit of wit and wisdom in the mornings or afternoons or whatever time of day it is that you watch this or listen, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And definitely, if there are any subjects that you'd like me to discuss, feel free to send them to me either at dearmamasal@gmail.com or just leave a comment. I do check them and I do try and answer them all. I'm luckily still at the stage where I can. So I do try and make sure that I answer them. And if ever I haven't answered a comment of yours, it'll be because I've missed it, or that, maybe we were going back and forth and that was probably enough conversation on that subject, in my view. This is DearMamaSal, encouraging you to look after one another. Because sometimes all the person next to you really needs is somebody to listen or somebody to care. But most of all, I encourage you to look after yourself. And I say that because so often, interesting smell coming from my car now. So often we look after others better than we look after ourselves. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of the DearMamaSal network. We wouldn't be here without the viewers, so thank you so much. A big virtual hug to you all. Have a great day. Bye-bye for now.